All right, K-Dog.
How's it going?
We spent an inordinate amount of time talking about pissing on this show. Like, pre-show.
In our lives in general. Yeah, we do. We do. I gotta go all the time. And you apparently go never. Ever.
So you're taking a road trip, and you know it's going to be 2 hours. In a 2-hour road trip, are you going to have to piss and interrupt travel at least one time?
Yes.
In 2 hours?
Yes. I never used to be this way. I usually would know that, like, I could go a solid few hours or so and be fine. I can remember as a kid in school, going to school and coming home from school and having either not gone at all or maybe once during the day. I even Googled one day, like, what is considered overactive bladder? What is overactive? What's excessive urination? And it said going more than 8 times a day. And I'm like, I go 8 times by lunch.
Dude, there's a problem there. So on a 2-hour trip, you're telling me that you will at least go 12 hours a day. Do you wake up when you're sleeping, do you wake up to piss?
Yes.
Seriously?
At least once, if not twice a night. I've done 3 times
during
before.
Sleep. You wake up to piss.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes it will wake me up. Like, it'll be so strong that it wakes me up.
All right, so but
sometimes I'll just wake up and then I say, I might as well go.
So if you got in the state of mind that you could not piss and you had to go 10 hours, is there any preparation that you could make to go 10 hours without vacating
10
the bladder?
hours?
10 hours, you can't piss. If you piss, then like microbes will crawl up your urethra and you'll die. You have to go 10 hours.
I don't know.
What would you
if
do?
I could do 10 hours.
Limit the amount of incoming?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, if I know that like, for instance, if I'm going to see a movie at the movie theater, I will not get anything to drink. I will go before we leave the house. I go as soon as we get there, and then I wait, and I go right before the movie starts. And I bet you I still will be like,
so 2 hours.
Done,
that is your freaking limit. Like you have to piss every 2 hours.
I still have not gone to the theater to see Wicked because I heard it was a 2-hour long movie, and I'm like, why don't we just watch it at home where I can pause to go to the bathroom? And sometimes it is mental. I've had people say, oh, it's all in your head, it's all mental. And I agree, sometimes it is. I will go like in preparation, like if it's a car ride, if it's a movie, if it's something I'm about to do that I know could be a lengthy thing, I will go even if I don't feel the urge. But there have been times where like I just went and I got to go again. Like, and it's not in my head, I have to, and it's been less than an hour. I know. I've been told I need to see a doctor about this. I don't know if this happened after kids. I feel like maybe this happened in the last couple of years. And it's not urgency. It's not like, gotta go right now.
I would like you to do 2 things.
Okay.
All right. I would like you to like you to eat things that allow you to absorb moist objects. We know we like the word moisture, right?
Yeah.
So electrolytes.
Yeah.
And limit the amount of the things that you drink so that it is proportional to the electrolytes that you consume. And see if you can get a 1-to-1 ratio where if you drink like 1 cup of water, that your body has the ability to absorb 1 cup of water without having to expel gallons and gallons of life-altering liquids all day long.
Yeah, because I'm actually trying to drink more water, which I hate doing because I know I will live in the bathroom. It's so annoying. The only other time it was this bad is while pregnant. I remember being pregnant, which is a good excuse to have to go all the time, and being annoyed at how often it is. So when I increase my water to try to be healthier or lose weight or whatever,
it's not healthier
awful.
if you just expel whatever you drank. You have to actually have to absorb it. I give you a pass for 1 year. Like in the beginning of this, when you start eating less carbohydrates absorbs less moisture or less water molecules, and so you expel the rest because you just don't have, from an atomic level, the ability to absorb everything that you're drinking. But if you were just to drink what is equal to what your ability to absorb, right, then you don't need to expel. Like, I agree that the body's normal bladder function is to expel things that you shouldn't be eating, things that the liver processes out. Like, you need that kind of flush out. But there is a level where it's extreme. Like, it's more than is necessary. And you got to bring that shit into check.
Well, and there are many, many times, I'll admit, throughout the day where, again, I don't have to go. I could hold it, but I will tell myself, I'm just going to go, or else I will think about this nonstop. I just did that on Sunday. We were going to church. We're running a little late. I went right before we left the house, and I'm telling you, we live 30 seconds away from church, if that. Maybe a minute if you're driving slow. We are literally right down the street. And I went and then got in the car and went. But because mentally, I tell myself I go right before it starts every time, and I didn't do that because we were running late. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't have to go. I know I don't have to go. I just went like 5 minutes ago. I don't have to go. And I finally looked at my husband and I was like, I'm going to just go, or else I'm going to think about this the whole time. And I go, and I can. Something will come out. I can go. But 100%, that was mental. I did that to myself. I think I do that a lot.
Can you make a journal, like a piss journal, and just take down the times? Let's see. Because basically, if you're going every 2 hours, it'd be 12 times a day.
Oh, I go more often than every 2 hours.
12 times a day.
Okay.
We'll say, let's just say you write down 12. And then we're like, let's try to limit it to 10. And then we have to admit what should be the proper amount of time. Let's cap ourselves at 5 times per day. Okay. And figure out a way to limit the intake, increase the absorption, and stop the mental pissing that happens.
Yeah.
Right? And we can limit that down to 5. That would be a win as far as I'm concerned.
I've noticed too, I think it almost even also depends on physically what I'm doing. If I am like up and about and like moving and doing things, I almost feel like it's less often. I don't know if I'm just not focused on it. That could be it. But if I'm sitting and then I stand up, there it is. It's like I unkinked a hose. If I go from sitting to standing
5 times a day. That is my goal in 2025. For you,
5 times a day.
5 times a day.
We're talking from the time I wake up till the time I wake up again.
Yeah. So
even overnight.
So you get up and there's 1. Before you go to bed, there's 2. So there's 3 times within a 12-hour
Absolutely
day. No,
not.
Listen, we have to set goals here. 5 is doable. Mathematically, physiologically, in every measurable way, 5 is doable. If you make changes so that is something that can be achieved.
Unless there's an issue there.
No, there's not. Listen, you victim-minded people. There's not some kind of victimhood in everything that you do. There's not a sleep victimhood. There's not a money victimhood. There's not a piss victimhood. Not every facet of your day has to be something that's out of your control. There's 5,000 things that you can do during the day that can make something more likely, less likely. And all you have to do is flirt with the things that you can do to make your pissing day better.
What about
Here we come, the whereabouts.
About a year or so ago,
Yes.
I had some blood work done.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly what was said or what they were looking at, but one of the little things that happened to be on the blood work, they were like, your kidney something with the kidneys was a little off. Not a big deal, they said. I'm sure it's fine, but I think they're just working a little hard. You need more water.
Every single person is doing nothing but looking for a reason why
This
their
wasn't
control.
something they were checking.
It's fine. That's fine. No, it's your kidneys. No, it's your
They
heart.
just said,
No, it's your lungs.
you might want to get some more
no,
water.
it's your trust me, right? The medical community will deliver you a reason that it's not your fault, so that you can ignore the 7 different things that you're doing
listen.
that contribute to making whatever it is you're doing worse.
No, listen, it was my fault. They said, do you drink a lot of water? And I say, no, I actually don't drink much of anything throughout the day. I could probably count on one hand the amount of drinks I have like all week because I'm so sick of peeing. And I was told, that's not good. You need to drink throughout the day. You probably need some water. I think your kidneys are overworked a bit. And I went, oh.
So they're agreeing
Here
with
we
me.
go.
You should pee freaking less. You should give your kidneys the ability and your bladder ability to store up what every human being should do. Like there's a metric that says what you should be doing and what you are doing. And if you're not doing what the status quo, what the normal is doing, you should work really hard to get your shit in check so that you're peeing like the rest of us.
Yeah. Do you think I like being
No,
this way? I hate it.
But it's not your kidneys. It is not your childhood trauma that's contributing to your overuse of your bladder and your kidneys. You gotta get that shit. So tell me, Kelin,
Yeah.
do you have control over this, and can you make it better?
I honestly
That is
don't
yes
know.
and yes. All right, let's try that again. Kelin,
What?
do you have the controls at your ability to make things better? Yes or no? That is a yes.
Partially better,
No, I am
yes.
suspending your ability to respond. And Kelin, do you have the ability to make things better? Yes or no? The answer is
Yeah.
not a yes. It's a yes. It is
Yes.
a hardcore yes. I can
I
do
am the
something
master
about
of my
it.
own bladder.
Yes, the master of your freaking bladder is 100%.
Okay.
Let's repeat that again. Kelin, do you have the controls and your ability to make your bladder behaviors better? Yes or no?
Yes.
No hesitation. That was a 1 second hesitation. Let's go for a half second. Kelin, do you have the ability to bring your bladder under your control? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes! Immediate yes.
However,
No, there is no however, there is no therefore.
we're not going like 5 times a day anytime soon. That's
But
not.
that is the goal.
Okay, but
that
it's not
is the
going to be
goal.
soon.
You're going from 12 to 5, right? 9 is better than 12.
Okay.
So let's go with 9. 9 is your next step.
Am I allowed to not drink anything, or do I have to maintain water
No,
intake?
listen. You're not looking for the exception. Like no asterisks is in your future. You're either
Okay.
doing things that promote more evacuations of urine, or you're
Like
doing things
drinking?
less. What?
Like drinking water? That's going to promote more.
So drinking more water you think is going to make you evacuate less.
No, I think it's going to make me go more.
So I know, right?
But I'm
so you
saying
want
then-
to absorb more of what you're drinking.
So you're saying don't stop drinking, it's absorb it
Absorbing more of what you're drinking. Making use of something that you already have. You don't need to add any more. So if you're comfortable with the amount of things that you're bringing inside, you just have to make better use of something you're already consuming.
I feel like I should be consuming more water than I do.
If
But I'm-
okay, all right, let's change it. Let's
Okay.
just say you were taking a Flintstones vitamin every day. Floop, right? Floop. You're taking a Flintstone vitamins every day.
Okay.
And then I take the measurements and say, oh, you're absorbing 1% of that Flintstones vitamins. Do you think you should take more Flintstones vitamins, or do you think you should change the chemistry of your body so that your 1% goes to 2%? Which is the better pursuit? More Flintstone vitamins or better absorption?
Better absorption.
100%. So if you drink a gallon of water per day, and I'm telling you, you're making use of about 16 ounces, right? Well, 16 ounces a gallon, right? A cup of that water, right? Would you be more willing to drink more water or make better make better use of the absorption of the water you're already getting?
I need to
Let's go for
absorb
2
it.
cups. So if I was like, okay, well, your carbohydrates are low, so your body hasn't, is basically making use of the proteins that you're using, and it's far less than a gallon is necessary. I don't suggest you drink less water. I suggest you make better use of what you're already getting. So maybe the food intake is not, but maybe the electrolytes is. So what's the electrolyte? What's your consumption on electrolytes?
Lately, probably not much.
Okay, or stop.
Yeah.
Full stop. Better use and absorption of electrolytes. What could you do to up your electrolytes?
At one point, I was drinking those liquid IV things
Okay.
for electrolytes, and by the way, peed all the time.
Because of the water that
More
was necessary.
water intake.
How about adding foods that have naturally high electrolytes without having to consume more water to be able to take those electrolytes? For instance, olives, right? Sodium, high sodium content.
Yeah.
What about magnesium? What food can you drink for, or what food could you eat for magnesium?
I don't know. What has magnesium?
I'm-
Fish? I don't know.
I'm going for the Google machine.
I'll say I might have made that up. Fish, you get iron.
Foods high in magnesium. Potassium's next. So.
Magnesium.
Okay, so here you go.
nuts.
Any of these foods, you got dark chocolate, spinach, bananas, cashews, nuts, and almonds. So you can
Are those two? Avocado?
avocados. Yes.
I eat avocados fairly regularly.
Okay, spinach, dark chocolate, peanut
Leafy
butter, edamame,
greens,
potatoes,
regularly.
seeds, quinoa, milk, yogurt, legume, brown rice, chia seeds. Let's scroll over.
Potatoes,
Black beans,
regularly.
avocados, pumpkin seeds, whole grains, leafy greens, and tofu. So you have about at least 20 foods here that will increase, right, the
One,
magnesium.
2, 3. I'd say at least 4 of those I get on a regular
Okay,
basis.
so you take out your scratch notes and you take foods off of this list and say, okay, I'm going to add magnesium. Well, let's go potassium next.
Potassium. Yeah, because isn't that supposed to help with cramping?
All right.
Those muscle cramps.
Now we don't have. We have bananas, oranges, apricots, prunes, raisins, dried foods. We got acorn, squash, potatoes, spinach, tomatoes, broccoli. We got lima beans, baked or refried beans, milk, yogurt, and buttermilk. We got cod, haddocks, and salmon. We got whole grain bread. Get rid of the grains. Like, we don't need to add carbohydrates in there.
Yeah.
And then we have fig, cookies, chocolate, and molasses. So you take your little your little notepad, and you write down the things that increase without having to drink extra. I do not begrudge anybody from supplements. But I think 90% of everything you should get should come from the foods that you naturally eat. And if there are things on the list that you eat like as an additive rather than a majority of what you eat, you need to switch it. And if you're like, I want to pee less, going from 12 to 9, meaning that I have to eat bananas and beans and vegetables and some fruits and some vegetables. And if I can get down to 9 just by the foods that you eat without having to take a supplement, then you can still do your water, you can still do your supplements, but a majority of what you're getting is from the foods you freaking eat.
Listen,
Yes.
this is not that far off from my typical diet. Potatoes, leafy greens, meats, like avocados. I had avocado last night. I had avocado probably yesterday, or a couple times yesterday, I think. Not far off. I am not far off in diet with all of those things.
But it's still, if you're peeing 12 times a day, there's evidence that it is not the primary choices. If you were to take, and when we budget things out, we take in a full accounting of what you're eating. And then we put a little percentage sign next to it and saying what you're eating and what you should be eating. And then changing the things you're eating into 100% or 90% of what you should be eating means that you go from 12 piss sessions a day to 9 piss sessions.
Okay, question.
Yes.
For a normal pisser.
Yes.
How often would you say you feel like you could go? You don't have to. It's not urgent. You could. Or you could just keep going about what you're doing and forget about it. Versus you actually go in a day. Would you say you have those moments? Or do you just go when you feel like it and it's still only 5 times a day?
So let's take 2 situations.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Let's take a normal body processes situation and an anomaly situation. So if I drink 4 cups of coffee, that's an anomaly. That's not the body processing food in the normal, sort of like presentation of it. It's you drank 4 cups of coffee. You didn't piss because of the normal body function. You pissed because
put
you
a
drank
diuretic in there.
100%.
Yeah.
So you have to parse out and say, of your 12 piss sessions, how many of them are anomaly sessions and how many are just the body's normal tendency to take things in under the normal tempo and excrete them under normal situations. I bet you take half of those 12 and say 6 are anomalies. Something that you're doing in higher numbers than you normally do. And those are the easiest to get rid of because you can take a cup of coffee and drink 2 sips rather than drinking the entire cup. You can take the full thermos of water and drink 5 sips rather than drinking the whole thermos. And you can take a food that is a diuretic and is like popcorn, for instance, or something that's going to expel sort of like dehydrate the body in really short order and cause you to piss. So there's probably 6 of those anomalic and 6 of those normal body tendencies. And those I'd get rid of the anomalic ones way before I get to the normal body tendencies.
I don't think I have a lot of
I bet you do. The only way to do it is audit it. Fully audit it.
What do I do? Just write down everything I eat and drink in a day?
Yes. And
Okay.
you find the areas in which you are pushing the body system into doing something that it wasn't going to naturally do. So you're on a primitive island and you have scarcity of resources, right? And you are only drinking and eating what's necessary to stay alive, to build your fire and build your house. What are you doing? Like, are you drinking in, like, if it was luxury, then you'd be drinking a full gallon of water. Well, on the beach with salt water and with whatever, you're only drinking what's necessary to live, not necessarily beyond what's necessary to live. And you're going to have elements where you are drinking beyond what is necessary to live and what your body can utilize. I don't mind you taking Flintstone vitamins at all, right? I do mind when you piss away 99% of the Flintstone vitamin and only use 1%. I'm like, that's a freaking waste.
So while I'm tracking this food and drink, again, am I watching or documenting times that I go feeling like I should go because I have the opportunity versus I really do need to go?
Well, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. If you had a net that had like 5 holes and you took a bunch of dollar bills and you dropped them through, and a majority of those dollar bills would drop through just as they passed through and you never made use of them, you never got to spend them, and there's like $2. If you looked at the $100 that passed through and the $2 that got caught, what would you look at? Would you look at making yourself terrible about the $2 that you caught, or figuring out a way to get to the $100 that went through the big gaping holes in what you were able to capture? I would look at the waste more than what you were using. Don't worry about that other stuff. You're accidentally making use of $2. Might not have been a purpose. Who cares? Let's take the $100 that are passing through and see if there's a way we can catch more of that $100 than we're passing through.
Okay. Let's do after 1 week of me documenting everything I eat and drink. And if you look at that and you're like, yeah, you got a bladder issue.
You don't. This is not a bladder issue. It's not a medical condition. It's not a victim scenario. You're doing something wrong, and the goal is to discover what you're doing wrong and make it a little bit better. And the next time, make it a little bit better, and make it a little bit better. Like every victim, sort of like medical condition is 99% in your control and 1% out of your control.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There are a handful of times throughout the day and even the night that I will get up and go feeling like I don't really have to. I can hold it. But rather than sit here and think about it, just freaking go,
sure.
And then it's out of your mind.
Yeah. And if you lessen that to a couple times a day, then you're 3 times or 2 times a day wouldn't feel that egregious. But even you feel like you waste too much time pissing every single day.
It's annoying.
And you should limit it.
It's annoying.
Okay. And I'm going to give you real talk, and it is not a condition that is outside of your control. If you want to piss less, you can piss less.
I have even had days where I will base what I'm wearing that day around how easily and quickly can I get in and out of this in the bathroom. If I got to tuck a shirt back in and button things up and do whatever, I'm like, I don't want to wear that today. I want something that is like pants, shirt. I don't got to tuck it in. I don't got to do anything I can get in and out of the bathroom quickly.
Let's just do a colostomy bag. Okay, you go to the hospital, you get a bag inserted. Anytime you piss, you just fill the bag once a day. You dump the bag, and you're good for another day. Right? It's a responsibility, but at least it saves you a bunch of time from having evacuate yourselves. And like the little tube that comes up to your bag, right? You can work around the cute outfit that you wanted to wear that day and just go colostomy bag.
I remember.
It's an option. Why don't more people do it?
I know. Because no, I don't want that.
Yeah, you would rather eat bad food, bad drink,
make a bunch of excuses. Bad food and bad drinks.
You obviously mathematically are. And which is worse, colostomy bag or just eating the right and proper foods that you need to piss the normal amount of time per day for your biology?
So what happens in a case like this? I can remember years ago. So this must have been going on longer than I thought. Years ago, I was going to have surgery. I remember going to the bathroom. Have you ever gone in for surgery?
Yeah. Well, no, but yes.
Okay, so most people know that you eventually put a gown on and then you get into this little bed on wheels and then they take that bed and they wheel you whatever. Well, I was in my little gown. I had just gone, changed, got in this little bed, and I'm laying there for a bit. And they're like, yeah, we're going to come back and take you back in just a little bit. And I think I already had an IV hooked up to a couple things, which is why it would have been difficult to get up. But I said, I'm going to have to pee again before we go back there. And they said, no, you don't. You don't have to. You just went. And I said, you don't understand. I do. You just went. You will be fine. You're going to get a catheter in there anyways. And I said, I'm telling you, I am holding it together. Everything in me. I have to pee. Where did that come from? They're like, well, it's in your head. And I said, it might be in my head, but it's about to come down my leg in a minute because it still comes. It's not like it's all in my head or it's a feeling. Like anyone who's ever I've had a UTI one time in my life. Funny enough, I was around you that day. That is like, I have to go even if I really don't. It feels like I do. Not what I'm talking about. I have these mental things where it is like, I feel like I need to, and I really do. It really does happen. So then how do you stop the whole mental feeling like I got to go all the time if I'm like, but I can. I will. It'll happen. But should I hold it? Should I make it not happen? Is this a legit I should? Or is this all in my head I should?
Well, what I suggested makes it easier because the body is serving natural processes. If you couldn't and you practiced not doing it until you could, then the muscles would react, your mental would react, and you just live in a life of luxury where you can go whenever you want. So you're practiced to be able to evacuate whenever you need to.
Don't they say it's not good to hold it?
Yeah. If you hold it, and you have a bacterial load and you're allowing the bacterial load to not be evacuated, cool. Get rid of it, like no problem. But your biology is not made that way. If you look at the primitive versions of ourselves, we went long periods of time without having to expel those bacterial loads. So then you got to look, all right, what's making my bacterial load? What's making me go? What's making me not absorb? Take all the natural methods, right? Mm-hmm. And serve the natural methods, and then you'll find you have a more regular pattern of evacuating what's necessary.
So how come I can watch my food and drink intake and eat and drink certain things and still go 12 times a day, but other people can eat things that don't serve this purpose or aren't usually good for this and not go 12 times a day?
You're making a mistake somewhere down on the math. Like, this is just physiological math. It is not something that is mysterious or magical. If you document out what you're doing, there are things on the list that you can make that thing better by adding to or removing. It's 100%. It's just physiological.
All right. I'm giving you my list at the end of the week, everything I ate.
Yeah, document that shit. You mentioned Wicked, and I finally saw Wicked.
Yeah.
It was fucking terrible.
I still haven't seen
So
it.
let's talk about this. Like,
Okay.
This is something that needs to be said, because the I loved it and the hate it people are like diametrically opposed, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know the people who loved it, how the F that you actually love this. Now, did you see it or no?
I still haven't seen it. I'm the worst. I haven't seen it. There's so many movies I still need to see. I haven't seen it. I've not even seen the play.
So let's dig into me.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's something about me that's making me hate this, right? That is different from all other people. And I would like to dig into it a little bit. So let me give you my fresh take on why Wicked was terrible.
Okay.
All right. So first of all, everybody liked The Wizard of Oz because it was a well-formulated movie. It had plot lines and character arcs, and like it had everything you would want. It had morals, and it had an underlying sort of like message for whoever's watching. It was great to be able to walk through it and see the characters go through their thing, and you had villains and you had heroes and you had just great storytelling.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Wicked did not have that. Okay, here's what Wicked did. And I call this ambush predators, right?
Ambush predators.
Ambush predators. So you have these young, activist-minded theater kids, and I mention this all the time, that they can't wait to take the bludgeoning tool of their choice and hit you over the head with it. Like, they are sitting there as an ambush predator and waiting for the moment to tell you how much of an asshole you are and how terrible you are and how many bad decisions you make. And they wait for the opportunity to hit you with that. Now, as a consumer of entertainment, you don't want to be bludgeoned. You don't want to walk 5 steps into the zoo and the zoo to tell you that you're a terrible person, because you're like, what the fuck? I wanted to see birds, and I like birds. Don't tell me that I'm a
like, why are you here looking at animals that have been captured and living in captivity?
Here's an owl. And this owl is only here because you're a fucking idiot, and this owl is better than you.
Suffering in a cage because you came to see it.
Exactly. Right? That is the worst thing to do. Like, I understand that theater kids want to take the things that they're passionate about, and they want to float them in front of you so that you go seeing the movie and want to be a better person on the other side of it. The problem is the theater kids don't know when it becomes lecturing and when it becomes entertainment. Like, I'm there for the entertainment. If you can take a little thread of activism and like subtly put it in there without like making me feel like I'm an asshole because I went there, that's a good balance, right? Mm-hmm. Make it subtle, make it small, make me contemplate it, make it be my idea on the other side of seeing it. So Wicked, the main character, is a green witch, right? Mm-hmm. Before that, the Wicked Witch of the West was the asshole. She was mean. She didn't like Dorothy.
Villain.
She was the villain, right?
Yeah.
Let her be the villain. But what they did was took a known villain, just like they've done in, sort of the, what's the, I can't think of the name. What the comics? Like, what's the name of the comics? There's two. Fuck.
I'm like, what comics?
Yeah, the brands of the superhero.
Oh, Marvel and
Marvel, yes.
DC.
Yeah, DC.
Okay.
So just like in Marvel, they want to take a character that was the villain, and we were okay with them being the villain because they told the story, and somehow cast them in the shadow where it wasn't their fault. Let's give them trauma enough.
Like Two-Face.
Two-Face.
It was
or
Harvey Dent.
The Joker. Or
and he became
take all
Two-Face.
of them. And the theater kids decided they're going to take all of the villains and somehow make them noble in some respects, and then let us...
look, we did this to them.
Yes, exactly.
It's society's fault.
Let the people who are in the $20 a seat audience somehow make the villain the hero even for a moment and say, let's cast some doubt on whether or not Batman was the hero, or maybe Joker needs some of our sympathy or empathy for the way that they became, right?
Yeah.
And that push-pull, like, we were okay with just taking the villain and make them the freaking villain and make the hero and make them they wanted to add some whatever. Fine. Risky move, right? But it's risky, and you're on the hook for the risk that it entails. The Wicked Witch of the West is an asshole. And to make them into something where and since you didn't see it, I'm going to have to give you some backstory. Okay, so...
Was she bullied or something?
So here's the deal. Her mom had an extramarital affair. Fucked somebody outside where she should have, and had a green baby.
Okay.
So the green baby now is not only an embarrassment because, the noble nature of extramarital affairs, but also now she's green. So from all of literary genius, the green baby is basically the symptom of an ignoble, is that a word, ignoble?
It is now.
Ignoble, right? Action. Your parents did this to you. They created the bastardization of a child. Now you're a green baby, and everybody should know you're the embarrassment of the community. You should be admonished, right? Okay, so storyline's great at this point.
Okay.
And honestly, from a literary standpoint, we wanted to use that storyline to make family and non-extramarital affairs the noble gesture, and the other thing to be the green baby deal. So let's tell the storyline to then when you're in the audience like, oh, I want to stay within my family. I do not want to have an extramarital affair because I might have a freaking green baby. Okay, so that aside, green baby now, when you walk up into university, right? There are three things that this green baby said. You eat grass, you're something or other, and you're something or other, right? And so every time she meets somebody, she says this, no, I didn't eat green grass, as the comparison between why are you green, right? When it should be, yeah, my parents had an extramarital affair, and you should probably stick with your husband because that's probably this thing. Then it's the taking the comparison, which should be pretty easy, and saying, yeah, I'm the byproduct of bad behaviors and accept me. But they didn't do this once. They didn't do this twice. They didn't do this 3 times. There must have been 5 references, right, from cultural casting out the bad behaviors and just accept me from being green. And I felt by the 5th time, I was like, okay, well, that was a theme that was overplayed from go. Right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, as a person that maybe wants to go see Wicked, you got to be asking yourself, so what was the plot? What was the football spike? If Joe says that they overplayed the whole "you're green and you shouldn't be" thing,
yeah,
what was the actual plot? There was fucking none.
Is it literally
there was
just
fucking none.
She's green.
She's green.
Now she's on the defensive.
She's in university.
For having to deal with it.
She's trying to learn magic.
And finally it gets to be too much and she turns bad. And
no, I don't even know if she turns bad. Like, the storyline was...
Well, you know this is part 1.
Yes.
There's 2 parts to Wicked.
Oh, dude, if I have to sit through another fucking 3 hours of that shit... I'm going to go crazy.
Do you think it in any way that this is just sort of leading up to what is going to happen in part 2? That part 1 is just a lot of backstory?
And it's just like the really hot blonde that says that you're going to get sex on the 9th date, and everything in between is something that you just have to endure until you get the ninth day sex, right? Yes, sure. The storyline will completely make sense. The character arcs will finally absolutely make sense. There will be some moral to the story. Sure. After 3 hours, if you couldn't constitute this storyline to mean something, I'm not bought in for number 2. That means another $20 ticket, another sitting through that bullshit for nothing whatsoever. Like, Wizard of Oz fans, if you read the origin story of the books that were written long time ago, right, that went into making, Like, they were a lot to get through because they were very dark and they were children's tales about very dark conceptual ideas. I would rather sit through the original books and endure that terribleness than what should be a more sophisticated version of that storytelling that was terrible in every facet that there is. So I will tell you, like, with the first time we talked about Wicked, I was not a fan of it even before watching it. I am a time 10's not fan now after having seen it.
So if I'm hearing you right, basically it sounds like, are you saying you don't like it because, unlike The Wizard of Oz, where consequences clearly happen based off of wrong choices.
Yes.
And in the end, you learn how it should have been. In Wicked, they almost celebrate the bad choices.
Well, I can't say celebrate it, but they
they excuse away, and it's like the whole Luigi thing. He murdered someone, but look at everything he endured that drove him to it.
Yeah, it's
That's
that
like
kind of
Wicked.
it's that kind of bullshit where there was the opportunity to be able to tell a tale of moral good behavior, right? And then you're like, fuck that moral good behavior. Let me just tell the story of someone who's a total victim, and let's excuse all of their behaviors up to a certain point and give them like a one exponent on some attributes and character traits that we should, I'm not going to call celebrate. I'm going to call like highlight. That's it.
Yeah.
They highlighted a single attribute that made them tiny bit likable, right? And took all of the attributes of everybody else and made them magnified where they were not opposite of celebrated, which they were whatever.
Yeah. So is it kind of like years ago, my son had a little boy in his class that was just a jerk all the time. All the kids thought he was. All the parents thought he was. My son even got invited to a birthday party and wanted to know if this kid was going, because if he was, he's not going. And I checked with the mother, and the mother's like, no, we will never have that kid invited to a party. He's bad all the time. And up to a point, I tried to teach my son, look, for whatever reason, this kid's not happy. You don't know what he deals with at home. You don't know what he deals with his parents, with his life. Clearly, he is either upset or frustrated or angry at the world, and he's taking it out by being a bully, and we should maybe give him a little grace. To a point. At some point, knock that fucking kid out. Like, pardon my language, but
no pardon. That's required.
Yes, like if you have to defend yourself, at some point the grace has run out. And so did it feel sort of like it was like that with Elphaba or whatever the name is? Like,
no, well, what's missing is the redeeming qualities that make you sort of like turn a blind eye to everything that is terrible about their character. You got to be good at something. Like, that's what the point of a superhero is, that there's some fatal flaw of the character that makes you like, they're not all great. But look over here, they're freaking awesome in this department. And that's a balance, the contrast between those two things. Elphaba was a douchebag, and there was no redeeming qualities other than her being green and everybody feeling sorry for the fact that she was green. She wasn't great at magic. She wasn't great at bringing people together and creating great institutions. There wasn't a redeeming quality to buy into Elphaba. She was just a douchebag.
She was just the victim.
That's it.
And played the victim.
Victim, villain, douchebag. And she should have been, a house should have been dropped on her, and all these little people should have celebrated the death of somebody in such douchebaggery.
So it's not even like in the case of Batman in Two-Face, where Harvey Dent says, eventually you live long enough to watch yourself become the villain. But he wasn't. He was the good guy for so long and turned back. Not even the case.
Not even the case.
This is, you
all
were
douchebaggery.
a victim, and then you stayed a victim, and then you just stewed in your victimhood, and it made you angry until you were a villain.
For half a second, theater kids made you feel guilty for the victim, but then there weren't any redeeming qualities to balance out that victimhood. And you're like, oh, that really sucks for you, but you're still a douchebag. There was not a big imbalance, like on the other side of it, to be like, oh, that's what you were, but now you're this. Like, you couldn't even cheer for the victim.
Yeah.
I want a house dropped in Alphaba now, right? I want to see her entrails scattered upon the ground.
My God.
Now, because everything that she dealt with, oh, that's so sad. But fucking drop the house on her ass because she's still a douchebag.
Yeah, that's kind of like the feeling I get where, will I give to charity? Sure. But is there a point that the person receiving charity has to put in some work to better themselves?
They have to be great. And she wasn't great. It was just a story of victimhood. So all those theater kids are just like lamenting, and they're just like stewing in the victimhood. And they're like, let me just throw some more, like, all right, here's a cute owl that's awesome. I can tell you about how much they can fly and all these great things they go. I'm not going to do any of that. I'd be like, here's an owl. You're an asshole because you're killing the trees that the owls love. And you're an asshole because you're burning down forests. Nothing about the owl. I'm never going to tell you the reason why you should feel proud and great about protections of the owl. I'm just going to call you an idiot for everything you've done to hurt this owl. And have a great day here at the Pittsburgh Zoo.
And I could even almost understand the whole, if the Wicked Witch of the West came back and was evil then to all those people that made her feel some kind of way. But no, it's I'm now a villain and I go after Dorothy that showed up here, that didn't mean to, that isn't trying to hurt anyone. You know, now it's like, well, I'm a villain to everyone because I felt some kind of way back then with other people that have nothing to do with today.
The purpose of storytelling is to let the people in the audience become better after having seen the thing. So they have some kind of virtue that they haven't been able to achieve under the normal daily lives. But now that they've seen that movie, they're like, oh, I took my family for granted and I pursued, sort of like selfish interests. And I met people who needed my help. Like, all of these things had a story to tell. That I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better. And these movies don't do any of that. They don't make the audience better. It's only the capitulation of making the audiences feel worse about that they are more of a victim when they've stepped in that theater.
It's pushing the idea that you should just accept when someone else is in the wrong.
Yeah, the audience is like, oh, I judged the green girl, and I probably shouldn't judge the green girl. I burned down some firewood in my fire pit, so I'm terrible because I hate the trees. Like, all of this is nonsense, and it doesn't make the audience any better. I will never buy another ticket to any of these movies that all they do is trounce the good humanities that should be coming out of this, instead of all of the,
It's giving the villain a free pass.
Yes. And making excuses.
The good people.
Yes. And taking every stereotype, right? The wrong stereotypes. The stereotypes are the ones that like make us giggle a little bit about, like Galinda, right? The stereotypes of Galinda. Let's take the good witch and make her into an idiot. And let's take the bad witch who has all the characteristics of being the douchebag that she is and making them admirable in a way and celebrate. Like, this is total douchebaggery. Like, I cannot tell you how terrible this movie was on a level of humanities and also entertainment and give it negative 19 stars.
But now you have to see the second one. You have to see what they do with it.
I will only see the second one. I will make this as long as $0 come out of my pocket to see it. If they make it free, I will watch it. There's no way I will reward any producer, any writer, or anybody for making this terrible movie or series of movies. I already paid the $20 for the first one, and I feel like they owe me $40. There's no way I pay another $20 ever.
So I feel like this may actually be a pretty good segue into a topic I wanted to briefly touch on today. And I feel like, again, we've talked about this topic before, but I want to maybe revisit it for a minute. And it's where do people get the nerve? Where do people get the nerve? And I feel like it's those same people that they're just given grace and screw everyone else. And I'm talking about people like, where do people get the nerve to make an appointment with someone, a business appointment, a service provider, just not show? Just not show. And what are you supposed to do? It happens. Yep, I don't like that. How about driving? If I was on 680 recently, if it's 60 miles an hour, let's say it's 60 miles an hour and snowing outside. Where do people get the nerve to think I'm going to go 75 to 80 miles an hour and I'm going to blow past everyone? And if someone goes to change lanes, God forbid, better not, because I'm driving like a speed demon. How do you handle these people? Or let's say they show up for their appointment and they talk on their phone the entire time they're doing a business transaction with you. What do you do with these people?
So do you want the mathematical response?
Sure.
Okay. Mathematical response in a true capitalist environment. What destroys behavior is when things are not free. So let's just say somebody comes in your office and they schedule an appointment and they're paying by the hour and they're on the clock and they take a phone call. Do you fucking care whether or not they're on the phone? No. It's only when they're in that free time, right? Something that doesn't cost them anything, that they're able to like do whatever they want to do. And the worse people are, the more they will misbehave in free area. So let's change the example. Let's just say that your car had a computer system that basically just cast your speed that you were traveling in any given zone, right? Mm-hmm. So if it was 65 and you were 65, it cost you $0. And the person that was traveling 70 miles an hour in a 65, it was costing them $5 a minute. Then when you look at them, they're paying the consequence. They're paying their speed tax of being able to go faster. But when it's free, you go 90 miles an hour until you're caught. And then all of a sudden you'll find out that behavior costs you money, but it's a delayed gratification. But if things were all equal and artificial intelligence were basically saying whatever you consumed is what you paid for and whatever you don't consume, you don't pay for, then all things are freaking equal, right? Then you would be less pissed off when someone who knows they can work you over because you're on free time all of a sudden has to pay for the free time that they're granting you, and bad behavior costs more, good behavior costs less. Now things are okay. Now you're not pissed off at all. So if somebody cuts you off, it costs them $5. Now you don't care because, I looked on my phone and I got Venmo'd $5 from the person that cut me off. I'm not so mad anymore because all things freaking equaled.
Yeah. You think there'll be a world one day that
yes,
that happens?
100% where math will win. 100%.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So everything that annoys you, right? Okay, so let's just say I'm going to introduce the knocking on my door fee of $1. Anybody knocks on your door or calls you is $1. So you pick up your phone and it's a spam call. I'm answering that fucking shit, right? Because I'm making $1 every time. Hey, thank you for the $1, right? And then you hang up. I hope the phone rings again because I get another $1. So everything that annoys you, you benefit from. Anything that you are annoyed by costs you money, right? And then you are less likely to do things that annoy other people because it's just really expensive to do annoying things to other people. And all is right with the world.
When does this start?
Now. Let's start it freaking now. AI, get in there and make things equal from a capitalist mathematical standpoint, and then all of this stuff ends.
Yeah, they could maybe make like QR codes. You know how you're required to have a license plate on your car? Maybe on that plate is a QR code, and all vehicles now have scanners. And you do something to me, I scan your QR code, and here comes money out of your account.
And you make $10. That would end it all, and you would no longer be annoyed or inconvenienced by the behaviors of other, because the more terrible they are, the more it costs them, and the more money you make. You would warrant it. You'd welcome it in. Knock on my freaking door, Jehovah's Witnesses. I make $1 with every knock. You knock 3 times, I get $3.
Oh yeah, I had a person one time come into work, and it wasn't even like they came in on the phone. I've seen that a lot. They come in on the phone, don't end the call, and just try to do business. This person, we were in the middle of a transaction, answered a call, and was on that phone, I kid you not, had to have been at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
To the point that I left, I went back and did some other things. I had to say, not once, but twice, I really got to get back to work
and
now. We have to wrap this up.
The only thing that throttles that disrespect, like I walked into an office, doing computer work, and the person said, can you have a seat for a second? And I said, the clock's running already and you're already at your rate. And you wouldn't see how quickly they got me stationed so that I was working on something. But okay, different multiverse. Let's just say I didn't say that. How long would they have made me wait if they didn't think that the meter started to run? When it started costing them money, they figured their shit out and they made sure that I was in front of something that I could be solving problems. Otherwise, they would have made me wait out there probably 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But that is the great equalizer when there's a cost associated. Free destroys everything. Free is not free, right?
Yeah.
And free makes people disrespect and devalue the thing they're being given for free. So whether or not it's traveling in a lane or the speed that you hit or the medical care that you take advantage of, if it's free, you are going to devalue.
And these people that are doing this are going to make us start to live in a prepaid world
For sure.
everything. I mean,
because they can't handle otherwise.
Hairdressers. If you don't show for your appointment, that's like an hour or two from a hairdresser that they just lost. Computer repair. Yeah, I'll be there at 9:00 and you don't show up. You're now out that entire hour.
But think of the stresses of the person providing the service knowing that you fucked up the rest of their schedule for the day and they're going to make less money because you couldn't be responsible. But if you paid whether or not you were on your phone or showed up for or not, they wouldn't care. It removes all the stresses from the service provider. And honestly, it's better if you don't show up because then I make money and I really don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
That's the equalizer.
We're going to have to prepay freaking everything.
Everything.
Actually, I had a customer made an appointment and I said, all right, not a problem. Let me go ahead and set you up with a time. I'll let you know. We do prepay so much time ahead of time before he shows up. And they said, oh, you must have been screwed over a lot to go to prepay. And I was like, yep.
That, but that is the nature of those theater kids who aren't looking to give good value to the audience. So anybody who's looking to like take more than they give, like when you put that movie together, did you take more from me? Like you really wanted to give me the message, but you didn't want to really give me anything in return. And I had to buy a fucking ticket. That's why I say you still owe me $40 because I got nothing out of it. You took from me.
They're like, well, the return is the music.
Fuck your music.
Was the music even good?
And honestly, like there was a couple of songs that were okay. And I know a lot of people that like the movie really like the soundtrack. And I'm hopeful that the people who gave the movie high marks was because they liked the score, right? Mm-hmm. But if it wasn't the score, if it was just the theme of the movie, then fuck you. You've got a terrible bead on what is good versus bad. Okay, so let's just say you hate white people, okay? You hate white people. So every time that somebody punches a white person in the face, like you think that's really great entertainment because you hate actually white people. So you might be more entertained by the jaw fracture in a white person, right? And you might see more value in it. So when I'm taking the metrics of what you saw of value, if it's just punching the person that you disagree with, then I can see a lot of people when it comes to like, we'll say the owl in the rainforest. If you really hate humanity and you like the trees, every time humanity gets punched in the face, you think that's a score and you would actually be like, oh, look at that dude. Like instead of showing off the owl, they punch the person who cuts down trees. Then you see the more value in it. It's sort of like the new way of the new measuring stick isn't necessarily what makes you feel good. It's who you injure in your messaging. And like you would give a high measure.
I mean, that's politics nowadays. Completely. That's voting, that's campaigning, that's everything. Nothing anymore is look at the good or what can be done or the possibilities or the potential. It is look how bad that one is or that person is. And I'm not that bad.
If they're my enemy, how hard did you punch them in the face? And we're like, I'll cheer that one on because you hit the guy that I don't like too.
Absolutely.
Disney movies. Let's hit one more.
Oh, Disney. Okay.
Wish. Like the last probably 10 Disney movies were actually absolute horseshit.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Last 10.
Last 10.
Like what?
Inside Out. Snow White.
I did not see Inside Out, but
Snow
that
White
got like so many. That made like a ton of money, and everybody said it was so good. Not good.
I give I give Inside Out a neutral pass. And it's only because it was a sequel to something that a lot of fans liked, where they did take a lot of elements and it did add value to the previous movie. But if it were to stand on its own, it was just meh. It was not great. But I want to sort of like use the theater kids, the uber liberal, let me show messaging at you. The things that you see over and above, over and over and over, is number one, and this started happening sort of like with sitcoms back in the 90s. You took the patriarch, the white dad, and what did you do with him as far as the role that was to be played?
In sitcoms, usually he's an idiot.
He's an idiot, right? You took the patriarch and you tried to minimize what role the patriarch played.
You made him a joke.
You made him a total freaking joke.
Yeah.
He was an idiot. He was totally called out with every other character. He was a joke, okay?
Yeah.
So that's step one, is let's take the father figure who plays an actual integral role in the family, and let's see if we can minimize that person and take out all of the value in the patriarch, okay? Mm-hmm. And then step two, and let's take the matriarch and make them like the steel stallion, right? They are not only noble, like they all know all truths, they're all magical, they are everything it is to be is the matriarch.
They're holding everything together.
Everything together. Okay, so that's number two. Let's magnify the matriarch and demagnify the patriarch.
Okay.
And then you have and I call this the ambush predators as well, because they take things that they think are going to piss people off. They take the normal version of it and they make it completely non-existent. And they make the one, the thumb in your eye, and they think that's the one that's going to piss you off.
Okay.
So I want you to look at Disney movies and entertainment as a whole and find out how many interracial, sectional couples there are in all of Disney movies. So if they take to a white male and female, or a black male and female, or they take a ethnically paired couple and take that completely off the roles, right? So are you familiar with sort of the intersectional hierarchy?
Intersectional hierarchy.
Yeah.
It must not be.
Okay. The intersectional hierarchy is sort of like the victimhood clause, like who has the hardest take, right? And at the top is transgender. Then you have all of the LGBTQ all the way down. Then you have interracial, and then everything below it. So what Disney did is they took that hierarchy and they did the pairings based on what they thought was going to piss off the most amount of people. Spoiler, none of this pisses off anybody. Like, if I see an interracial couple, I don't give two shits. I'm a libertarian.
They thought it was going to be controversial, but we're like, okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so, like, if you took something, and again, those theater kids that wanted to make the most amount of people mad possible and what they thought would make people mad, people don't really care. Mm-hmm. If there is we watched Arcane a couple of weeks ago. You familiar with Arcane?
No.
Big budget, and it's a cartoon, right? And it's sort of like superhero meets anime meets Marvel meets DC, right? Tells the story. They put like almost $1 billion of...
This is a Disney movie?
No, it's not a Disney movie. Okay?
I don't know what this is.
And so like when you start pairing up the characters, you have the deal with taking traditional male-female characters, and then you have some lesbian characters, and then you have some interracial characters. So when the theater kids are all concocting the way that they're going to get the most action on their pairings, they have a choice. And it's animation, so it's not even a real storyline. So you have like, what's going to piss off the traditionalists the most? I'm going to take somebody who hates Christianity the most, and I'm going to make that a central character. Then I'm going to take the dad character, and I'm going to make them the most, thumb in the eye, like, let's make them the freaking idiot character. And then I'm going to make the lesbians, and I'm going to make them the heroes. And I'm going to make the interracial characters, and I'm going to make them also just a thumb in the eye of the people who have traditional. Again, none of us freaking care which any of these characters do, and just make the story about the story instead of the bludgeoning cudgel that's going to try to make you pissed off. And the rest of us are sitting back saying, all right, it's annoying, but let's point out the green character again. Oh, the green character again? That must be the center of the story. Oh, the green freaking character again. Come on, let's get on with it. Let's tell the freaking story. Oh, green character again. Here we are again. Right?
Instead of like, here's a story, beginning, middle, and end, it's, hey, she's green.
Yes, that's what's
Okay,
so
she's green. What else?
annoying.
Now what's going to happen? But she's green.
Oh, how about this?
Got
the green
it.
character. Let's make the whole story about the green character instead of the 1,000 other perfect opportunities to tell an entertaining story that has more implications and makes the audience better. Instead, they take the thing that's going to piss you off. This is shit posting 101. Take the thing that is going to piss you off most, right? And okay, let's reverse it. Let's take the theater kids off to the side and say, let's take all conservatives, right? And make every character into Trump, right? I know it's going to piss you off, and I would build it into the complete core of this character, of thing that's going to make you, that I think that's going to make you the most mad. But the third time that I've done the thing, you're almost immune to it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not having an effect anymore because nobody freaking cares that you think this is the Trump character, right? Because
You're like, we got it.
We
now where's the story?
We wore off any radioactivity that had in that character, and we wore it off because we overplayed it 1,000 freaking times. So Disney and Arcane and all this entertainment, get over the thumb in the eye. All of us don't freaking care. Just tell a good freaking entertaining story, and we'll be bought into your brand because we don't care about anything else, right? Anything you had to say has already been said. You're not going to overdo it. You can't overdo it anymore because it's overplayed.
So how do you feel about the live action Little Mermaid when that came out? And there was all this controversy that Ariel was now an African American girl, and some people are like, yes, it's about time we do this and we shine a spotlight on this. And other people are like, I just like the story of the Little Mermaid. And can we just tell the story? And it was like, where should the focus be? Where should the focus be? On who is playing Ariel or on the story of the Little Mermaid?
Me, I don't fucking care. It's a mermaid fiction creature, so you could have a corgi play the Little Mermaid, and I don't fucking care because it's just the story of a fictional creature. Who you put in there is more about you than it is about me, who doesn't effing care. So there you go. If you made it a big deal, then I'm judging you based on if you think it was supposed to be a white character, fuck you. If you think it's supposed to be a black character, fuck you. It's a mermaid.
How about, I just recently saw, and I didn't even know this at the time. You ever see the movie Selena? Jennifer Lopez played the 90s singer Selena. You ever seen that?
I don't think so.
Oh, you should see it. Jennifer Lopez played Selena, who was, I believe, I hope I don't get this wrong, I think Selena was Mexican-American in real life. I hope I'm not getting this backwards. And Jennifer Lopez was like Puerto Rican or something. And I guess people were up in arms about that. So how do you feel about if you are depicting a real person in either a biopic or something of that nature?
Is it biopic or biopic?
It's biopic.
I say biopic. Go ahead.
I know someone else who says biopic too, and it's wrong.
It's ready. It's right.
Yeah. But anywho, do you think that is important?
Culturally, put 99% of your effort into storytelling, and who plays those characters. You can take as many artistic liberties as you possibly want. And I am open to artistic liberties. But when it's thumb in the eye liberties, that's when I start taking exception. When you take a character that was traditionally white and you thumb in the eye to put some kind of ethnic group in there, if there was a Genghis Khan and you had them played by a black dude, right? There's going to be some people who are like, okay, well, this guy was definitely a character that should be of a certain ethnicity. Me, I don't effing care because it does not add any kind of value into the storytelling of Genghis Khan. I don't care who plays them. There's only two people. The thumb in the eye people that are the assholes, and the people who are like, oh, like, that was my peeps, and you just robbed me of my peeps. Those people care too. So I think the thumb in the eye people should fight those other people and just play out the storyline so it doesn't matter.
So anyone pushing an agenda
are assholes. And
Yeah.
and the people who are starved of it because of those assholes need their asses beat. And the more people, no more theater kids get their ass beats because they took those artistic liberties to be an asshole, I think the quicker it will work itself out. If there was a white girl in Ireland that played it, and then you cast somebody who's a white girl with red hair in Ireland, I would say that makes sense. And as long as you don't take away from the storyline, I don't fucking care who you put in there. And if you're like, hey, this beauty over here that had a great singing voice played the Irish girl, and the story was absolute perfection, I also do not fucking care who you picked to sing and tell the storyline. Whoever did it best was great. But if you take a fat, a small little person to sing the person and they sung terribly and they did terrible storytelling, I'm gonna say you're a fucking asshole.
But you
that took away from the storyline.
You push an agenda for diversity.
You're an asshole. Like, this is literally, I have a button that says you're an asshole, and I get to hit it anytime I want as the person that's buying the ticket. And you don't get to judge when I hit the button. And I hit the button a lot. Like, a lot. Disney movies and sitcoms and all of the new movies and Netflix series and whatever. I hit that fucking asshole button a lot because you're taking away the storyline. You're not giving me a great product on the entertainment side. And you're bludgeoning me with that, like that asshole at the zoo that wanted to tell me that me destroying trees is more about what you want to tell me about than the owl and his wingspan and how fast he flies and how many idiots he can take out with his talons on the ground.
Yeah, because that's your fault for going. It's not their fault for
fuck
putting
those
them
people.
there.
Like, I hate those people, and the quicker we get them out of mainstream, the better. I'm hitting my asshole button a lot.
I'm going to need one of those buttons.
Asshole button.